Before this story begins, I want you to imagine something. Imagine a stage so bright it almost blinds you, thousands of people watching, judges waiting, cameras rolling, and in the middle of that giant stage stands a skinny boy in worn-out shoes. His hands are shaking. His voice is barely a whisper. Everyone expects him to fail. But what happens next makes the judges cry, the crowd scream, and even the toughest judge in the world smash the golden buzzer. If you love emotional and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel because stories like these remind us that talent, courage, and dreams can come from the most unexpected places. The story begins in a small village in the Philippines where life was never easy for 13-year-old Miguel Santos. Miguel lived in a tiny wooden house near the edge of the village with his mother and younger sister. Their roof leaked whenever it rained. Sometimes they only had one meal a day. His mother worked long hours washing clothes for other families, and even then the money was barely enough to survive. But Miguel had one thing that made him different from other kids in the village. He had a voice. Every evening after school, Miguel would sit outside their house with an old, broken guitar he found at a junk shop. Two of the strings were missing and the wood was cracked, but he loved it like treasure. While other kids played games, Miguel practiced singing songs he heard from old radios in the neighborhood. One song became his favorite. A song that sounded magical to him, mysterious and powerful. Hotel California. He didn't even fully understand the lyrics, but the melody touched something deep in his heart. Sometimes villagers would stop and listen. Some smiled. Some were shocked that such a powerful voice could come from such a quiet boy. But not everyone believed in him. At school, some classmates laughed at his dream. America's Got Talent? You, one boy mocked. You can't even afford new shoes. Miguel would lower his head and stay silent. But inside, the dream never disappeared. One night while watching a borrowed television at a neighbor's house, Miguel saw something that changed his life. The show was America's Got Talent. The stage looked enormous, the lights dazzling, the crowd cheering wildly. And then someone won the golden buzzer. The golden confetti rained from the sky like a miracle. Miguel's eyes filled with wonder. "What is that?" he asked softly. "That means the judges believe the performer is special," the neighbor said. "It sends them straight to the live shows." That night, Miguel couldn't sleep. For the first time, he imagined himself standing on that stage. But dreams like that felt impossible. Months passed. Miguel kept singing everywhere, in the streets, at small festivals, even outside markets where tourists passed by. Sometimes people gave him coins. Sometimes nothing. One afternoon, a tourist from America stopped when he heard Miguel singing. The man stood still, stunned. When the song ended, he asked, "Kid, where did you learn to sing like that?" Miguel shrugged shyly. "I just practice every day." The tourist smiled and recorded a short video of Miguel singing Hotel California. A few weeks later, something unbelievable happened. That video went viral. Thousands of people online shared it. Comments flooded in from around the world. "Someone send this kid to AGT. This voice is unreal. Golden buzzer material." A charity organization noticed the video and decided to help Miguel travel to America for an audition. When Miguel's mother heard the news, she cried. Not tears of sadness. Tears of hope. Soon Miguel found himself standing backstage at America's Got Talent. The stage was even bigger than he imagined. The lights were brighter. The crowd louder. His heart pounded like a drum. The host smiled warmly at him. "Are you ready?" Miguel nodded, but his hands trembled. When he walked onto the stage, the judges looked curious. Simon Cowell leaned forward. "What's your name?" "M. Miguel, sir." "Where are you from?" "The Philippines." The audience clapped politely. Simon raised an eyebrow. "And what will you sing for us today?" Miguel took a deep breath. "Hotel California." The crowd murmured. It was a bold choice. Some people doubted a young boy could handle such a legendary song. The music began. For a moment, silence. Then Miguel sang the first line. His voice floated through the theater like magic. Clear. Emotional. Powerful. The entire audience froze. Simon's expression changed instantly. The other judges stared in disbelief. Miguel closed his eyes and sang from his heart, every note filled with emotion from years of struggle, hope, and dreams. When he reached the chorus, something incredible happened. The audience jumped to their feet. Cheers exploded across the theater. People screamed. Some even started crying. One judge wiped tears from her eyes. "How is this possible?" she whispered. Miguel kept singing, pouring every ounce of his soul into the performance. By the final note, the entire theater was standing. The applause was deafening. Miguel stood there, breathing heavily, unsure what just happened. Then Simon Cowell slowly stood up. The crowd went even wilder. Simon walked toward the golden buzzer. Miguel's heart nearly stopped. Simon looked at the boy and said something that Miguel would remember for the rest of his life. "Miguel, people spend their entire lives trying to find a voice like yours. And you brought the entire world into your song tonight." Simon smiled. Then he slammed the golden buzzer. Boom! Golden confetti exploded into the air. The crowd screamed louder than ever. Miguel dropped to his knees, crying. His mother ran onto the stage and hugged him tightly. Years of struggle, pain, and doubt had led to this one moment. A poor boy from a tiny village had just captured the hearts of millions. As the golden confetti rained down, Simon leaned toward Miguel and said quietly, "Never stop singing." Miguel looked at the audience, tears in his eyes. And in that moment, he realized something powerful. Dreams don't belong only to the rich or the famous. Dreams belong to anyone brave enough to chase them. And somewhere out there, another kid watching this story might realize their dream is possible too. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Because sometimes, the smallest voices carry the biggest dreams. Before we begin this story, I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine a giant stage filled with bright lights, thousands of people watching, cameras recording every second, and 4 famous judges waiting to hear the next performer. Now imagine a skinny boy in worn-out shoes slowly walking onto that stage. His clothes are simple, his hands are shaking, and most people in the audience think he is just another nervous contestant. But within the next few minutes, this poor boy will do something so unbelievable that the judges will cry, the crowd will scream, and even the toughest judge will smash the golden buzzer. But before we get to that moment, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this prove that sometimes the biggest dreams come from the smallest places. Far away from the bright lights of the stage, in a quiet village in the Philippines, lived a 13-year-old boy named Daniel Reyes. Daniel grew up in a tiny wooden house near the ocean. The house had only 2 small rooms, a broken roof, and old walls that creaked whenever the wind blew. When it rained, water leaked through the roof and his family placed buckets on the floor to catch the drops. Daniel lived with his mother and his little sister. His father had passed away years earlier, leaving his mother to work every day selling fruit at a small roadside stand. Life was difficult. Some days they barely had enough money to buy rice. But Daniel had something special inside him. Something powerful that no one could take away. He had a voice. Every evening after helping his mother at the fruit stand, Daniel would walk down to the beach carrying an old second-hand guitar someone had thrown away. The guitar had scratches all over it, and 2 of the strings had been replaced with fishing line. But Daniel loved that guitar more than anything. As the sun set over the ocean, Daniel would sit on a rock and sing. The waves crashed softly behind him as his voice echoed across the empty shore. Sometimes fishermen passing by would stop their boats just to listen. His favorite song was one he heard on an old radio at a neighbor's house. The song sounded mysterious and powerful, and the moment he heard it, he knew it was special. The song was Hotel California. Daniel didn't fully understand the lyrics, but the melody made him feel something deep inside his heart. Every day he practiced the song again and again until he knew every note. But not everyone believed in his dream. At school, some kids laughed when he said he wanted to sing on a big stage one day. "Look at your clothes," one boy said. "You can't even afford shoes. How will you become a star?" Daniel didn't argue. He just stayed quiet and kept practicing. One evening while visiting a neighbor's house, Daniel saw something that would change his life forever. On the television screen was a huge stage with flashing lights and cheering crowds. It was America's Got Talent. Daniel watched with wide eyes as singers, dancers, and performers showed their talents. Then suddenly a judge pressed a shiny golden button. Golden confetti rained down from the ceiling as the audience screamed with excitement. "What is that?" Daniel asked. "That's the golden buzzer," the neighbor said. "It means the judges believe that person is truly special." Daniel stared at the screen, imagining himself on that stage. But the dream felt impossible. America was thousands of miles away. Before this story begins, think about this for a second. Imagine standing on one of the biggest stages in the world. Thousands of people are watching you. Four judges are staring right at you. Cameras are recording every move. Now imagine you are just a poor boy with worn-out clothes, shaking hands, and a dream that feels bigger than the world itself. Most people think you don't belong there. But what if that same boy opens his mouth, and within seconds the entire theater falls silent, judges begin to cry, the crowd starts screaming, and Simon Cowell does something he almost never does, he smashes the golden buzzer. Stay with me until the end of this story because what happens will remind you that dreams don't care where you come from. And if stories like this inspire you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another powerful story. In a small, quiet village in the Philippines, far away from big cities and bright lights, lived a 12-year-old boy named Carlo Ramirez. Carlo's life was not easy. His family lived in a tiny wooden house built from old boards and rusty metal sheets. When the wind blew hard, the walls shook. When it rained, water dripped through the roof and his family placed pots on the floor to catch it. Carlo lived with his mother and his younger brother. His father had left years ago, and since then his mother worked long days cleaning houses just to earn enough money to buy food. Sometimes they had rice and vegetables. Sometimes only rice. Despite all of this, Carlo rarely complained. Because Carlo had something that made his difficult life a little brighter. He loved music. Every evening after school, Carlo would walk to the edge of the village carrying an old guitar that someone had thrown away. The guitar had scratches all over it and one of the tuning pegs was broken, but Carlo carefully fixed it with a piece of wire. He would sit under a tall coconut tree and sing. The villagers often heard his voice floating through the warm evening air. His voice was soft but powerful, full of emotion far beyond his young age. One song became his favorite. Hotel California. He first heard it on a small radio at a neighbor's house. The melody fascinated him immediately. It sounded mysterious and beautiful, like a story hidden inside music. From that day on, Carlo practiced the song every single day. But not everyone believed in him. Some boys in school teased him. "You think you're a singer?" one of them laughed. "Look at your clothes. Singers don't live in houses like yours." Carlo felt embarrassed, but he didn't stop singing. Deep inside, music was the only place where he felt free. One night something unexpected happened. Carlo was singing near a small street market while his mother sold vegetables nearby. A man who was visiting from America stopped when he heard the voice. The man looked around, confused. The voice sounded like it belonged to a professional singer. Then he saw Carlo. A thin boy holding a broken guitar. The man stood there quietly and listened until the song ended. "Kid," the man said with a surprised smile, "that voice is incredible." He asked Carlo if he could record a short video. Carlo nodded shyly. The man uploaded the video online that same night. At first only a few people watched it. Then something unbelievable happened. The video spread across the internet like wildfire. Thousands of people shared it. Comments flooded in. "Who is this boy? He needs to be on America's Got Talent." This voice gave me chills. Soon the video reached a charity group that helped talented children. After watching Carlo's performance, they decided to help him chase his dream. A few weeks later, Carlo and his mother received life-changing news. He was invited to audition for America's Got Talent. When Carlo heard the news, he could hardly believe it. America felt like another world. His mother hugged him tightly, tears running down her cheeks. "Your father always said you had a gift," she whispered. Months later, Carlo stood backstage in a huge theater in America. The stage lights were brighter than anything he had ever seen. The audience sounded like thunder. His heart beat faster with every second. A producer gently told him, "You're next." Carlo took a deep breath. Then the doors opened. He walked slowly onto the stage as the audience clapped politely. The judges watched with curious expressions. Simon Cowell leaned forward slightly. "What's your name?" he asked. "My name is Carlo, sir." "And where are you from?" "The Philippines." The audience cheered warmly. Simon nodded and asked, "What will you sing today?" Carlo swallowed nervously. "Hotel California." Some people in the audience murmured. It was a bold song choice. The music began. For a moment Carlo closed his eyes. Then he sang the first line. The effect was instant. The entire theater went silent. His voice filled the room with emotion so powerful it felt like time had stopped. The judges looked at each other in shock. Simon slowly leaned back in his chair. As Carlo continued singing, his voice grew stronger and more confident. Each note echoed through the theater like something magical. People in the audience started whispering, "Wow! Is this real?" By the time he reached the chorus, something incredible happened. The crowd jumped to their feet. Applause thundered through the theater. One judge covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. Simon watched Carlo carefully, clearly impressed. Carlo sang the final note with everything he had. Then the music stopped. For a second the room was silent. Then the audience exploded. People screamed, clapped, and cheered louder than ever. Carlo stood there, breathing heavily, unsure what to do. Then Simon Cowell slowly stood up. The crowd roared even louder. Simon walked toward the golden buzzer. Carlo's eyes widened with disbelief. Simon looked at him and said calmly, "You know, Carlo, sometimes someone walks onto this stage and reminds us why this show exists. That was one of the most beautiful auditions I've ever heard." Then Simon lifted his hand and smashed the golden buzzer. Boom! Golden confetti burst into the air and rained down across the stage. The crowd screamed with excitement. Carlo fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. His mother ran onto the stage and hugged him tightly as the golden confetti continued to fall around them. In that moment, the poor boy from a tiny village had just changed his life forever. Simon walked over and smiled. "Never stop singing," he told him. Carlo looked out at the cheering audience and realized something important. Dreams don't care about money. Dreams don't care where you were born. Dreams only care about courage. And sometimes, one song is enough to change everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Because the next incredible dreamer could be anyone, maybe even you. Before the story begins, let me ask you something. What would you do if you had a dream so big, but the world kept telling you that you were too poor, too small, and too unknown to ever achieve it? What if you stepped onto one of the biggest stages in the world, with thousands of people watching you, and everyone expected you to fail? And then suddenly, your voice shocked the entire world. Judges started crying, the crowd began screaming, and Simon Cowell, known for being the toughest judge, stood up and smashed the golden buzzer. Stay with me until the end of this story, because what happens will give you chills. And if you enjoy powerful and emotional stories like this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another inspiring story. In a small coastal town in the Philippines lived a 13-year-old boy named Rafael Cruz. His life was simple, but it was also very hard. Rafael lived in a small wooden shack with his mother and grandmother. The house was old, the paint was peeling, and the roof leaked whenever heavy rain came. During storms, Rafael and his family would sit quietly inside, hoping the wind wouldn't tear the roof away. Rafael's mother worked long hours selling fish in the local market. Every morning before sunrise she would walk to the shore, buy fish from fishermen, and then sell them in town all day. The money she earned was just enough to buy rice and a few vegetables. But despite their struggles, Rafael had something beautiful in his life. Music. Ever since he was a little boy, Rafael loved to sing. He didn't have fancy equipment, expensive lessons, or a perfect stage. His stage was the beach near his home. Every evening after finishing school and helping his mother at the market, Rafael would walk down to the beach with an old guitar that had been repaired many times with tape and glue. He would sit on a large rock and sing while watching the sun slowly disappear into the ocean. Fishermen returning from sea often stopped their boats for a moment just to listen. Rafael's voice was soft but powerful. It carried across the water like a gentle breeze. One song became his absolute favorite. Hotel California. He first heard it when an old fisherman played it on a small radio one afternoon. The moment Rafael heard the mysterious guitar intro and haunting melody, he felt something deep inside his heart. From that day on, he practiced that song every single day. Sometimes people clapped for him. Sometimes tourists gave him a few coins. But many people didn't believe in him. At school, some students laughed when Rafael said he dreamed of singing on a big stage someday. "America's Got Talent," one boy joked. "You can't even afford new clothes." Rafael felt embarrassed, but he didn't stop dreaming. Because every night when he sang by the ocean, he imagined a giant stage, bright lights, and thousands of people listening to his voice. Then one ordinary afternoon changed everything. Rafael was singing near the